Welcome, seekers and visionaries, to Oracle Mountain Chats. Here on this sacred virtual peak, we gather a space for oracles to share their wisdom, their visions, and their craft. It all began with a calling I could not ignore. One day, within a vision, I held this conch shell in my hands, and as I blew its resonant note into the world, I felt its vibration ripple across unseen realms. It was a summons, a signal to fellow oracles scattered near and far. I saw that we were on a mountain, vast and towering, reaching into the heavens. At its base, the world buzzed with life, people moving, creating, searching. Yet at the summit, there was stillness, clarity, and a circle of light. There, oracles stood, their gaze focused both outward and inward. They spoke of the energies they felt, the shifts they saw, and the whispers of the unseen. They weren't above the world, they were its witnesses and its guides. From this vision, OracleFest was born, a celebration of connection, insight, and the timeless wisdom that flows through us all. The message was clear. It is time. Time to meet upon this sacred mountain, to share what we hear, feel, and see. Time to bring the wisdom of the divine to a world that is yearning for its guidance. Through OracleFest, we've created a movement of community, all yearning to empower their own inner oracle. And here in Oracle Mountain Chats, we bring that spirit into a more intimate space. This is where the oracles gather to reflect, exchange ideas, and to explore what wishes to come through in the moment. This mountain is more than stone and sky. It is a meeting place of the realms, a threshold between seen and unseen, known and unknown. Here we gather as oracles to share the visions Spirit whispers to us, to speak of the energy currents flowing through nature and humanity, and to help guide those who seek answers in a world that often feels lost. So grab a seat, breathe in the mountain air, and join us as we begin today's chat. Whether it's an energy reading, a conversation about our craft, our path, or simply sharing a perspective on the world below, this is where we wait for more oracles to join us on the mountain. What wisdom will the mountain bring us today? Let's find out together. Step into this sacred space where the wisdom of the ages converges with the questions of the present. Okay, here we find ourselves again on this Oracle Mountain, now getting more and more populated, which is very exciting. And I'm joined by the beautiful Bonnie Wirth today, who is an empowerment strategist, emotional resilience expert, and also mediumship and mediumship mentor. So we don't always hear all those things in the same sentence. So I'm really excited to learn more about what brought you to this place, or what makes you so passionate about both empowerment but also mediumship. I think there's some sort of interesting unity there, I'm guessing. And so welcome today, Bonnie, to Oracle Mountain.
Oh, thank you, Kate, for allowing me the privilege of sitting with you here on top of the mountain. I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful expression of really the elevation and importance of this event that you're doing. And the timing of it is very significant, as well as not only, of course, in the start of the new year, but when we consider the very things that are happening in the world around us. And so, what's brought me to this work, as I'm sure, like so many other people, was completely a disconnect from my own self, from my own truth. And so when we look at, you said, what is the overlap between being a medium and the empowerment scope of it, is to understand that we all have these capacities and talents and abilities that have been suppressed or have been denied in some way, whether we are a medium and we engage with the non-physical world, or we are gifted as healers, or even in doing many of the the readings and healings of the different scope of shamanism and all of these attributes that come forward and to us, that there is an undeniable truth that exists in all of us. And so I feel very passionate about empowering people to be who they are. And because I'm a medium and I know how much suffering can come with that suffering, where you feel like you're all alone in the world, nobody understands you, that in some way God, a higher power, made some mistake the day that we were born. We've all been subjected to what is us being ostracized, misunderstood, or feeling alienated from the people who surround us, our family, our friends. We've always felt different in some way, and that certainly was it for me. And so what was a time of great suffering in my life was, of course, that those dark nights of the soul that take place were my greatest unveilings as well, in terms of those deeper truths. And so now I feel very passionate about helping people to be who they are in the world, helping them to live in alignment with what is their deeper truth inside of them, that they have been afraid to share, that they've been holding back, or has been creating their own suffering in their life. I had a very tumultuous childhood. I have a very big trauma story. And so that's been a big part of what has fueled my passion, is understanding the depths of wounding, the impact of our human condition, and how it almost suffocates our inner spirit. And so it was through my own healing journey, my own reconciliation of my own history of trauma, and that big story, that my mediumship abilities started to become more pronounced and more overt, to a place that I couldn't deny it anymore. So my passion is about helping people to get to move beyond the stories, the traumas, the barriers that have been holding them back, in limitation of them being their true self, and helping them to grab hold of the permission to be who they are in the world. And as such, I gather around me many psychics, many mediums, people, the mystics who come forward, because that's the understanding of that there's so many people populated who are going through, or who have felt the same way that I have. And so I love that here in this day and age, this is becoming more of an acceptable stream of I'm gonna say a stream of being in our lives, where more and more people are stepping. It's becoming, let's call it, more and more normal than what it's ever been before.
That's funny. I always joke, because my teacher said the same thing within shamanic realm, that it's like, is it really the non-ordinary, or is that the ordinary? Really,
Right,
like, what
right.
is this anymore? I like the idea that we're kind of doing a flip-flop, but yeah, of course, there is still a mainstream, but it is
Yes.
so exciting to see so many more and more people are getting the information they need, and also the acceptance and validation they need to just say yes to what is already naturally a part of how
Right.
we are meant to work. And there's something so interesting to me about the idea of denial, as something that come up a couple times in your chat there, about like, what is that experience like for people who are in denial of so they must be seeing signs, they must be having these moments, maybe waking up panicked from a dream, or kind of daydreaming as they're on the streetcar, and having this strange feeling run through them, and then putting it to bed, or and to me, I go, that must be so unsettling.
Yeah, what, honestly, I've always looked at people like yourself who've been able to be very open and living and expressing this part of who they are. I grew up in Catholicism, and so within a doctrine like that, everything that I was experiencing was, I was being told that it was the work of the devil, that this was something I needed to stay away from. I had people praying for my soul, all of these things that were going on. And there was the pressure of this being something bad or wrong about me, that I needed to hold back. I also had, my mom especially, who would say to me as a child, where I would share something, a message or from the other side with someone, And she would tell me, Bonnie, don't say those things to people. They're going to think you're crazy. So I grew up believing that the devil had a hold of me and that I was inevitably crazy. And so I had to hide this part of me so that I could be accepted, that I could, pretend myself into some state of normal. And it's so funny as you say that, because now I'm like, this feels more normal to me. I don't think it's normal that people aren't aware of the non-physical world. I don't think it's normal that they're not living their life in this way, right? So that's exactly what it comes down to. But living, and I have met so many people with that same story who have found that this is something to be ashamed of. It's something that needs to be hidden. And we end up meeting what are the expectations of other people, trying to be accepted and loved and meet the opinions of others so that we're not seen as different. We're not misunderstood any more than what we're feeling, that disconnect. And the disconnect from who we really are is where great suffering takes place. In fact, even though I had this big trauma story, I can honestly say that the times of my greatest depressions, the times of when I felt suicidal and when I felt all of this big suffering state, was simply because I was not really honoring who I was inside. I was not allowing myself to be the medium that I am, because I was trying to off shadow that in accordance to what was acceptable and what was lovable into of what I met the standard of love within my family, within my community, my friends, my circles. And so that the fear of being seen or fear of being known as this medium was so overwhelming that it was the very thing that really contributed or was created even more complexity to what were those states of suffering for me. It was after that, I mean, not only the deep healing that I did, God bless, seriously, all the shamans, the healers, the masters who came in to help and support me in my time of what was immense crises in my life, that helped me to find my way, as well as to allow for, it wasn't to find the truth, but it was to allow for my truth to be expressed and seen and held. And, yes, there were people to this day that still don't understand, and there's people in my life who I thought would understand, who completely left my sphere. They're no longer in my universe anymore. But for every person that fell away, I've had enormous amount of people who have come forward into my life, who further support and love me for who I am. And so I love me for who I am, and so now that's calling in people who love me for who I am as well.
Which is such a scary part early on for a lot of people, I would say, in
Yeah.
stepping up and yeah, allowing their truth. I would love to say that again for anyone who's listening, because that was a very important point. That often the search and the finding and so finding your truth or finding your purpose, your mission, or finding your community and those people who just get you, that is such like an active, and it can be really challenging. It almost puts that destination further from us rather than simply like, how can we step out of the way, or how can we allow? Um, and maybe can we let in also more of what currently exists? Because sometimes when we're in a bit of that fear type place, or we're worried about judgment, we kind of forget that if we're living our truth, often people do just sort of adapt as well to that new truth. And I think it's interesting sometimes unexpected people will accept, oh yeah, that's what you're into now, that's cool. Hey, maybe I have a little question. They might have been closeted and hiding that as well in some stage in their life. And I'm personally touched by I've luckily lived an easier life when it comes to being able to, like you say, kind of walk in and say, yes, I came from a Catholic upbringing, but my parents didn't care too much about that. I was the one who cared so much about it, because I thought, man, everyone has to be nice in church and we get to sing together and it's peaceful and lovely and I feel connected. Right. That's
Yes.
a place I could feel connected. And so I had a very different view. Even with the witch hunts, a lot of people will blame their reason for struggling to own their gifts in this lifetime from some past life as, a witch who got hunted.
Right.
And I had this memory come back that was, everyone was actually really nice to me and they protected me. And so I was a witch in those times and was like,
Yes.
ooh, this is a bit concerning. But whenever someone would come through town, they'd say, no, no, she's fine. She's a cook. And
Good.
so I think I'm lucky. I come into this one with a
Yes.
couple things on the same side as me. I hear this a lot from clients, is that feeling of like really wanting to be accepted and really wanting to be around people who understand them. And also it's like, well, someone has to be that shift first in any community, right? So there has to be the
Yes.
ripple in the pond that then everyone else
Yes.
can, and you've met probably people listening, and well, yourself and myself included. We've met people along the way who were just doing their thing, and it helped us do our thing a little bit
Yes.
easier,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
And so that is
Exactly.
what it is, every individual doing our thing in truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right?
Right.
More
Right.
and more of that. So what you said is very important. It's allowing the truth that's already there. I think also probably a lot of our healing focus folks have a lot of that early on struggle against, like, they feel, I felt anyways, the resistance of like my truth against what my life was a lot
Yes.
harsher.
Yes.
So I thought, man, my dreams are incessantly telling me to go an entirely different direction in life, and I don't want to hear it. I'm in college. I've paid a lot to be here. There's a track I'm on, and this is not it. And so I understand this denial, because I would
Uh-huh.
sit there going, why do I keep daydreaming about this beautiful life that is not my current life? How odd. And it would come
Right.
back and come back and come back. It was like nagging at me, whereas maybe some people actually have an easier time putting it to bed because of their circumstance. Mine was just picking away, just saying, hey,
Yeah.
listen, listen, listen. That
Yeah.
build gets uh louder and louder maybe for people.
Yeah. And I work with a lot of individuals who feel this deep calling desire to do this work, not only just to be who they are in the world, but to use their connection to the non-physical world to help other people. They know how impactful, how healing, how beneficial this is. Not only does it help them to be well in their own life because they're allowing for this communication between worlds to take place, but the impact and healing that's taking place for people who are receiving the messages. They just love what it's all about. And yet that terror barrier, that fear, that coming up against it, it's the very thing that stops so many of them from being able to answer that greater call, this sense of unfulfillment of purpose that keeps them, as you said, that ancestral seeking of my tribe, seeking of my purpose, seeking of this truth, which is really, it's just a matter of just allowing. It really is allowing. I had a friend of mine many years ago said to me, and it was so impactful. She had said to me, Bonnie, she said, the first page of the Bible. Now she's speaking to me from this, as I said, growing up within the doctrine. She said, the first page of the Bible says, let there be light. It doesn't say chase the light. It doesn't say protect yourself with light. It doesn't say run after everyone so that they understand and you can convince them that you have the light. It says, let there be light. Just let it. Let yourself be who you are and let people come to you. Let them find you. Let that be what guides and leads you, as opposed to it being this ever persistent quest for something more beyond where you are right now. And that was so powerful to me. I think of that so often, especially, and we all do it from time to time. We get caught up in the ego. We get caught up in resistance. We get caught up in fear, and it's this reminder of saying, no, no, no. Yeah, I don't need to pursue this. I don't need to change anything. I just need to allow. I need to just let it unfold. Let it come together. Let yourself be seen for who you are. Let yourself speak what you know is truth for you. Just let yourself. And I really believe that if we all just gave not only permission to ourselves, but in giving permission to ourselves, it gives permission for everyone else to do that as well. Right. But as you said, it takes someone to start. And I know even within my own community, all those years ago, when I first started out doing this work, I was significantly probably one of maybe two people or three people in my community who were doing this work. And so it was very, the guidance was to give up and to step away from what was the conventional way of I was living my life with the job that I was doing, the career that I had, the role that I currently was expressing in my life, and to move out of that and to do this work. And first off, and I think it's like, those little snippets that you talk about, those little sparks that are coming. It's like, I didn't really know what was going to lead to. And had I known at the time that this is what I was going to do, I would have said, nope, not happening. I would have completely said, I am not the person. You've got the wrong person for the job. Not doing
Move
that at
on.
all.
Yeah,
Right? Moving
yeah.
on. Right? So, but it was just, the unfolding, the little bit here and there that began to unfold and happen. And so then when it reached the point where the guidance was for me to let go of my old, not only my old life, but to let go of my old job and to move forward and do this work. It was not an easy, it was not an easy cycle to go through. And in fact, part of the challenge was, even, I mean, I've been married, I have a wonderful husband. We've been together for like 36 years already. And, we've grown up together. I've been with him longer now than when I was ever under the roof of my parents. But we've lived life together. And so even at that junction in our lives, I mean, he didn't really understand. It created a lot of challenge in our relationship because it was just the guidance to do it, the Dharma. And we talked about this briefly before we came on a call, where the Dharma, the push, the call to do this was bigger than all of the reasons and excuses not to. It was like I had reached this precipice where I didn't have a choice but to jump. I had no choice. It was where the soul said, no, I'm here. I've got purpose. There's something I need to accomplish in this lifetime. And so, it reaches that point for so many people. And all I can say to, if there's anyone that's listening right now, if you're feeling that, can I just say yes? Say yes, because the universe catches you. Beautiful things unfold. It all comes together. Everything works out. And I think this is the beauty of it, is that the universe always provides for our needs. We're always taken care of. And when we say yes to being of service in helping people in the many ways in which we're called to help, as healers, as messengers, as and in contribution to helping people in their own awakening and in their healing journeys, when we say yes to do it, we become the benefactor of that as well. Only good happens for us. We are rewarded. And not that we seek to do this for the reward, but it's in the fear of, what if people, don't understand? They're going to understand. We've talked about, you're going to find your people. You're going to, you attract them. They come in. What if I'm not successful? You will be successful. How can you not be, considering what is governing, guiding, and directing you? Right? It's there already. It's all inside of you. And you are being so loved, so supported. And it's all a part of the soul's bigger plan in this lifetime. And it reached the point, like, who am I to argue with my soul? Like, what? Like, really?
Absolutely. Who are you to argue with what you know inherently as well, right? Because
Exactly.
I'll see so many people who, when they begin to embrace it, they go, "Oh, I always knew." Well,
Yeah.
then, that
Yeah.
is an important factor for us all to recognize. That happens
Right.
to most of us, is that knowing, and understanding that is beyond, maybe beyond our beliefs at that time,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
interesting as well. And take it from you, you're still with this partner, and so
Yes.
clearly clearly people
Yes.
can adapt and people
Yes.
grow to understand. And actually, you don't have to meet people who already understand. As long as there's open-minded or loving people around you, eventually they see how it works for you, and
Yeah.
they understand. Even just that is such a gift, because there's a lot of people who I think want everyone to agree with them as soon as they wake up to certain things. They want
Yeah.
everyone to agree with them, be on the same page. And then it feels disconnected when we don't have that, when we
Right.
don't find that. And that's it's a heartbreaking aspect of soul
Of
growth,
course.
isn't it? It's like really tragic, because also there is the reality that a lot of people don't come with us on our journey. They don't continue with us as we continue to grow. And that is like it's a rational fear that people have, that might
Absolutely it
change
is.
things in their life.
Yeah.
But net positive, all the other changes really,
Yes.
really help you feel a lot better in life. So it's worth it. It's worth whatever, short-term discomforts or shifts that happen. And actually, I love that also people sometimes circle back, and that we have a
Yes.
long life, and how
Yes.
beautiful that is, that actually
Exactly.
we don't need to attach to any of that, because those
Yeah.
people who are meant to stick around and support us will do so, and
Mhm.
us for them as well.
Yeah, sometimes we just zig and zag. We need to go our own way. We need
Yeah.
to uncover and discover greater, we need to do our healing and
Yes.
discover greater facets of who we are, understand ourselves better, love ourselves even more. And when we can fall into that, they've zagged, and all of a sudden we come back into alignment again. And now we can show up as, I want to say, as better humans for each other as a
Absolutely.
result, right? And we can hold a space and becoming much more conscious, much more loving, much more understanding of the challenges of our human condition. So that's a big part of it as well. And I think here too, and I even I know my husband and I obviously have a big soul contract with each other, because I'm going to say, yes, it's been all those years. Has it been easy? No, not at all. Like any relationship, it comes with, but we challenge each other to grow beyond where we've been. And I think that's the other part. And when you do have love and support around you, it's wonderful. And ideally and most quintessentially, it is the love and support that needs to come through from yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to support yourself. And it's interesting, as you mentioned, it's like when, at least for me, when I stepped out into this, is the very fact that he didn't understand. You're right, he didn't. He still, I don't even know if he really truly gets it to this day, but he loves me and he supports me, and he's seen what's transpired, what's taken place, how things have evolved and grown, but also hearing the stories from other people of the impact of how I've helped them, or and the difference it's made. He's seen me at my live events. He sat in the back and he's been in awe of what takes place. And without a doubt, like, he's come along and he's growing. And I understand that a part of our contract, and that's where we look at this from at a soul level, is we do hold contracts. We hold contracts with those friends that were a part of us, our lives prior to us coming out and coming forward in this. And when those relationships fall away, it's because the soul contract is complete. And those people, and when we complete a contract, we can then take on another high level agreement where we meet up again in the future, or their very job, was to help us get to that point in our life. And so that's a point of celebration, because now we come into alignment with other people that we have higher level contracts with. And so this is all the journey of the soul. And here we can look at it in terms of mission and purpose and all those things. And there is, irregardless, things that both the contrast of the light and the dark that we're here to experience. And so we give way for that, and understanding that our soul knows what it's doing. It knows what it's doing.
Absolutely. Again, coming back to that
Right.
knowing, that knowance.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's just this knowing deep inside. Yeah.
I can entirely see how your work in empowerment absolutely lines up with your message about mediumship and opening up
Yeah. Yeah.
to allow what
Yeah.
communication is looking to come through,
I've said
because
for you,
we have to feel that. We have to feel
right.
personal sense of power to even let ourselves do
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. And I think here too, I'm really about changing the message of what it means to be a medium, because being a medium is more than just talking to dead people. We It really is. We translate energy. We bring it from a intangible way to make it tangible through our words, through our arts, through our dance. It isn't necessarily, this is about accepting that we're mediums is something that we need to do. Nobody else needs to accept this. In fact, I tell people that I work with, you don't have to tell anyone that you're a medium. You don't have to tell them anywhere where you're getting the information from. It's just more important that you accept that this is who you are, and that you're utilizing your gifts, talents, and abilities to support you in your life. If you choose to go out and help other people in this way, that's your free will. That is your free will. But what's more important is that you've come into full acceptance of who we are. We can't deny this. This is a part, being a medium isn't, the mediumship isn't just something we do. Being a medium is a part of our personality. It's about who we are. So just like we can't shake the fact that, I can't shake the fact that I talk a lot. That's just a part of my personality. That's just who I am. So this isn't something I can shake either. So even if someone is shy, if someone's very shy, they can work to overcome their shyness, but that's always a part of their personality. Being a medium is a part of your personality. You can't get rid of it. It's a part of, so for you to really accept yourself is to accept this part of who you are as well. And I've said for many, many years that when we look at what's happening in the world around us and all of the unhealthy coping mechanisms that are out there, that so many people through their wounding, their hurt, their disconnection, are looking to fill a void through, whether it be through unhealthy coping mechanisms, in the sense of whether it be through addiction, whether it be through challenges in relationships, etc. And so, everywhere you go, there are, whether they sometimes will go shopping and they feel like, I just need to go and spend money and feel better. Like all these ways, external ways that we look to feel better. And where I always say, where there is, a liquor board store, or where there are the shopping complexes, on every corner there needs to be a medium, a healer, a shaman, a helper, right there on every single street corner, so people know there's an alternative way to cope and to be able to heal what's going on inside, to heal the disconnect, to heal the wounding, to heal what feels like a loss of self, in order so that those other things aren't going to be required. And so that's always, this is where, again, I look at, I want to, my biggest goal is to get out in the world and tell people there are alternatives. This does, you don't need to be in the state of suffering, that your suffering is a conscious choice. It's a part of our human condition, but it's also a choice, and we can choose something different. And we can choose something alternative, and we can choose. This is for myself too. I took an alternative path. I went to traditional therapy. It didn't, yes, talk therapy is great, especially for someone who likes to talk. It's good to be able to talk, but it always felt like I was left open and my wounds were exposed and I was raw and I was vulnerable. It was in the healing of my spirit that I reclaimed my life, and I reclaimed the light that was already there. And so this is a big part. This is why I'm so passionate about healers and the mystics and the shamans and the healers and the mediums, is because we have access to help people to mend their broken spirit.
Absolutely. I feel like I should just leave it there, but I have so much more I want to talk about with you.
Absolutely.
But just that sounded like a good mic drop moment. I'm like, just okay, log
Yeah.
off, like leave people with that thought. Um, yeah, it's interesting to as you're speaking, I feel like, okay, you know, the talking things through and thinking things through helps things make a bit more sense. But
Yes.
this other work of receptivity, intuitive, of feeling, of allowing the truth of all these different metaphysical or non-ordinary skills,
Yes.
however we describe them in all the different ways, that's a way to have an experience that things actually feel like they make sense.
Yes.
Whereas to know how things make sense is only a part of the puzzle. To feel as though they finally do, to me, is that spirit piece as well.
Absolutely.
And I have a big history as well with that severe feeling of disconnection, and
Yeah.
how and all the
Yeah.
different ways that that manifests. And that if I were to look at our whole collective across the world, that disconnection on a soul level, the feeling that you're leaving yourself, you're kind of
Yeah.
self-abandoning, you're not quite here,
Yes.
that's our biggest wound. If we
Yes.
have like the
Yes.
medical list of like what are the most common ailments, this is like the most common spiritual ailment. That's the
Right.
top of that list, is
Exactly.
disconnect from self.
Self-abandonment,
Right.
disconnected from source,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Feeling like nobody understands you in the world, all of those things,
We need
right?
to have
Feeling,
one
yeah,
of these commercials, right, with all the fine print of the medicines,
right,
except it's fine print of soul
right.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're feeling ostracized, rejected, abandoned, all of these things. You have
We need someone to make a
codependency
jingle.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's such beautiful work that you're doing in the world, so needed, for every single person who listens to this and felt
Yes.
they resonate with Bonnie's message of, actually, I kind of feel like I'm meant to do something good in this world, and it sort of looks a
Yeah.
little bit like what they're talking about. Then I would
Yeah.
encourage you to join us at OracleFest, because you're going to hear way more from Bonnie, and our other speakers. And so it'll be all these different rays of light just beaming down to everyone who's ready to accept them, to let that light in, let there be light, like you
Let
say.
there be light. Yes, yes, exactly.
Is
I
there
mean, like I said to you earlier, I'd say this is a really exciting opportunity, and I think more than anything, a message for people tuning in is if you felt the call, and to know you're not alone in the world. That every single person who is out there that you see doing this work in the world that maybe has come before you have all felt the insecurities. They've all felt the fear. They've all felt like in some way they were maybe they doubted themselves. Everything. It was all there and they did it anyway. So this is really, say yes to what feels right. Say yes to, your truth, and to know that there are people who you have a soul contract with who are waiting for you to step in to do this work too.
absolutely, yeah. And there's way more peace and happiness on the other side of that fear
Right.
than there is on the side that the fear is
Yeah.
on,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, it
exactly.
does get
Exactly.
easier and lighter. We end up just laughing
Yes.
about things after that threshold is crossed.
Yeah, exactly. This is a phenomenal opportunity that you've created here, Kate, for
Oh,
every single person who's saying yes to participate in Oracle Fest. And to have something available like this is just such a gift. And to know there hasn't been anything. And so for you to create this a platform and a space for people to come together where they can see that they're not alone in the world is just a most beautiful opportunity for everyone. So I love that I get to be a part of Oracle Fest with you. Thank you so much for not only the conversation, but the chance to take my message and to help everyone who, wants to really understand themselves better. And it's just what a beautiful opportunity we've all been gifted.
I feel like it's a gift for me too. And I gotta stop this conversation before I
Yeah.
cry for like a second time on these calls. So I'll wish you a lovely day, Bonnie, and everyone
Thank
else
you.
listening as well. And I know people are going to be so enriched by coming to your session during Oracle Fest. And so thank you for taking part as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.